So what is National Manufacturing Institute Scotland? Well, NMIS is a group of industry-led manufacturing research and development facilities. It's where industry, academia and government work together to transform skills, productivity and innovation, to attract investment and make Scotland a global leader in advanced manufacturing. So what will NMIS do? Well, we'll increase productivity by reducing barriers to innovation, some of which we'll discuss today. We'll stimulate investment and make Scottish manufacturing more competitive. We'll stimulate job creation and improve supply chain links. We'll inspire and attract talent by giving workforces and businesses the skills they need. And we'll support businesses of all sizes and multiple sectors across the whole of Scotland. NMIS is operated by the University of Strathclyde. However, it is supported by a whole range of other entities. To name a few, we have the Scottish Government, Scottish Enterprise, Highlands Islands Enterprise, High Value Manufacturing Catapults, Skills Development Scotland, Renfrewshire Council, Scottish Funding Council. It's also supported by universities across the length and breadth of Scotland, so it really is a countrywide initiative. How's the NMIS group made up? Well, we have our specialist centres, the Advanced Form and Research Centre and the Lightweighting Manufacturing Centre. We have our new Manufacturing Skills Academy, providing professional development courses. In the future, we'll have our Digital Factory and Collaboration Hub. Importantly, though, NMIS is operating right now, so we can support organisations today. If we look at the FRC as an example, it has over 170 staff. It comprises of engineers, material scientists, technicians, engineering and PhD students, all supported by commercially astute business development programme management teams. The centre itself is made up of 6 engineering teams: forming, materials and residual stress, metrology, digital manufacturing, machining and additive. The goal of every team is to work together to support and give industry a competitive edge through innovation and problem solving. Now, the funding landscape itself can be a difficult one to navigate, so NMIS can help with that. And for example, if you take the FRC again, we have a bid team that can help you find the right funding mechanisms, for example, KTPs, APC, Innovate, ATI, Scottish Enterprise funding, and a whole range of other funding options. We can support to give you a better chance of winning funding by providing specialist advice in the CR&D projects we work with. And we can work with you to build consortiums and find the right partners at the right time. So I'd like to thank you for listening. I will now hand you over to Dr. Abigail Hurd from the Knowledge Transfer Network.
Sorry, I thought I was still on mute there. It seems I'm all right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's my pleasure to share a little bit with you about the manufacturing team at Knowledge Transfer Network, to give you a little bit of a quick fly through of the range of ways that we can help manufacturers and the ways that we can help people who are developing products that require manufacturing. So everything I'm going to cover today is very light touch. It's a very quick 10-minute presentation just to give you a flavour of the types of activities that we're involved in. But if you want to follow up on anything at all, whether you're just looking for a link, if you'd like some support, if you want to know more about anything I mentioned, please do get in touch. You can do that through my email or just connect on LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to get back to you really quickly. So who are KTN? We are ultimately funded by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, who provide money to UKRI, of which Innovate UK is part of. So UKRI are the research councils, EPSRC, ESRC, Arts and Humanities Council, Medical Research Council, etc. And Innovate UK works alongside these to make sure that this brilliant research that we do in the UK is translated into practice, into industry. Innovate UK support knowledge transfer network, the network of catapult centres, of which AFRC in Glasgow is one, but there are many across all different sectors, including high value manufacturing, and they also support Enterprise Europe Network, which is part of Scottish Enterprise in Scotland, but works more independently in England. Yes, that's essentially how we're funded. Similar to the catapult centres, we also get funding from elsewhere, but the majority of our funding comes from Innovate UK. So what do? We make connections to accelerate innovation. This is kind of what we're known for. So we make connections to experts, to companies that might be developing technology that can help your business, to companies that you might want to collaborate with, to supply chain partners, help you find routes to market, etc. We make connections to funding and finance. So that could be grants, private investment, loans, facilities, so places like the AFRC, or if you're looking for a specific manufacturing technology or some to make low production volume or test something out, we can join those dots as well. If you've got a prototype that you want to trial, we can help find the right partners for those sorts of things. So the connections we make can be business to business, business to academia, they can be business to research technology organisations, and we also help build consortia or groups of collaborative partners. Not only do we make connections in a really transactional way, we challenge thinking around those. So we make sure that we're making the right connections and that you are looking for the right things as you develop your technologies or innovate your processes. So we do that by having real depth of discipline and sector specific expertise within the organisation. So there's about 200 staff and we all have technical specialisms. We've got a real breadth of experience of helping people through the innovation process to match that depth of discipline specific expertise. And as well as being submerged in the markets or manufacturing, we have the ability to develop insights from this to influence policy trends. That's kind of in a nutshell what we get up to. And in a moment, I'll go into some specifics of what that actually looks like. So KTN traditionally, like up until 4 or 5 years ago, was made up of a number of individual KTNs. So often when I ask people, do you know knowledge transfer network? They're like, oh yeah, I know the knowledge transfer networks, and refer to it in the plural, but that's no longer the way we operate. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we came together as one KTN. So that really gives us the breadth to what we do and the ability to connect people in really effective ways. So we have sector teams, and we also have teams that focus on enabling or emerging technologies like the ones that are laid out in this helpful chart. And manufacturing really sits across the middle, so we can connect like people in the chemical sector with people in food and drink, for example. We can connect people who are looking at biotech with people who are looking at sensors, and we can connect the sector teams, people who work with the sector teams with people who work with the technology teams. So help people in energy understand how they might utilise robotics and AI, for example. That's basically how we work and where the manufacturing team fits into what we do. So we've got two parts to our mission statement. The first part to the manufacturing team's mission statement is helping manufacturers to innovate, and the second part is helping innovators to manufacture. So I'll just cover really quick fly through of what this looks like, what we get up to as we're doing this. So we get involved with industrial strategy from UK government, and in a manufacturing context, you might be aware this looks like manufacturing made smarter. So we've got at the moment a member of our team seconded into the manufacturing made smarter team at Innovate UK, working with them to delivering the networking part of the industrial strategy around manufacturing. But we also work across the other industrial strategy areas. So because all these ones listed here have got strong manufacturing or manufacturing supply chain components to them, we get involved as a team in consortia building, in the briefing events, and helping people put together their applications as the process goes forward. So some of these are live, some of them there's live calls for just now. To help with the Made Smarter strategy, we have a tool that helps facilitate conversations around adopting digital technologies. This is quite similar to what SMAS do with Manufacturing 4. So we don't really use this very much in Scotland, but it is much lighter touch. So this would take like 40 minutes, a couple of hours to do rather than the 2-day intervention with SMAS. We're in the process of developing this. We've got the online tool, but we're also developing a card version. And we're looking for companies to test it with. So if you'd like a conversation about adopting digital technologies and you're up for trying something slightly different, we'd be happy to work with you on that. We run special interest groups, that many of which are of interest to manufacturers. We've got the robotics and AI special interest group, which is live just now. We've got an additive manufacturing one, which is just closed, but the community around it is still very active. And we've got Immerse UK, which has closed as a special interest group, but now exists in its own right as a membership organisation. We run a programme called Analysis for Innovators, which is about connecting manufacturers and other organisations, but it tends to be manufacturers with leading scientists from organisations like MPL. So if you've got a challenge that you just can't figure out how to solve, we can make that connection and get you funding to work with world leading scientific minds on addressing your problem. And we run a platform called Innovation Exchange, which allows large organisations to pose a problem, and we facilitate responses from smaller organisations and help establish partnerships to deliver a solution. So the other part of helping innovators to manufacture, sorry, I'm aware I'm running through this really quickly. If you've got questions, please get in touch. Helping innovators to manufacture is the other half of what we do. So this is about helping people with a hardware product get that through to scaled up manufacture. So that's actually something that's incredibly difficult to do. So about 97% of people with physical products, of hardware startups, fail to scale manufacturing. That's compared with about 70% of technology startups. So I find that like quite shocking, and I feel like really we've got to be doing more to get that 97% down and see more success. So part of what we do around that is about upskilling people going through that process, to helping raise awareness of the challenges they're likely to face. So we've got, at the moment, we're on week 6 of a 12-week online series covering different aspects of that. If you'd like to be involved, get in touch and I can send you links to sign up. We've got one on mindset, failure and building a team tomorrow, and then the following week one on IP. Yeah, lots of exciting topics there. Alongside that, we're planning to do a brokerage event where people can pitch their ideas to contract manufacturers, to investors, to product design consultancies to get their input around the different technologies they're building. Because the other aspect to that, as well as upskilling, is about building a community of support. We use a tool called the Innovation Canvas, which was developed by our design team, which helps people consider all the different components of the innovations they're developing. So we use this with innovators, people developing hardware products, but we also use it with manufacturing businesses, people with established manufacturing. And just another way to establish dialogue and structure a conversation. And yeah, feedback on that is really, really positive. We've also got an online version of the tool. Similarly, as much as IX works for the large organisations, it also helps smaller organisations responding to these challenges get onto the supply chain. And then we've got another tool set called 30 Ideas, which helps you think through how you might approach the circular economy, something that's increasingly important with funders at the moment. So yeah, that's a quick fly through of what we do in that area, as well as offer sort of one-to-one support for people, either manufacturers or people developing hardware products. So we connect groups of people together through things like the Innovation platform. We connect businesses with scientists through A4I. We build consortia relating to industrial strategy. We run brokerage events like the Meet Your Maker one we're planning. We run Pitch Fest, where we help innovators prepare for investment. We run a conference called Materials Research Exchange, and we help people showcase their technology. So innovators with a digital technology, we run an area at the Smart Factory Expo called Innovation Alley. In advanced engineering, we do something similar with what's called the Enabling Innovation Zone. So if you've got a technology you want to showcase or a hardware product you want to showcase, get in touch and we'll try and hook you up with these opportunities. In terms of funding, Innovate UK Smart Grants is the open call that we help support. So this is for game-changing, ambitious innovation across different sectors or technology areas for grant funding between £25,000 and £2 million, in exceptional cases up to £3 million. And these are announced quarterly, with the next deadline being the 27th of May and the one after that being the 26th of August. So we can help with this. We can help review your applications before you put them in, and we've published what's called the Good Application Guide that can give you some guidance as you go through that process and help you think from an assessor's perspective. I'm not going to go into any detail, but there's a range of other calls available that are more specific, and you can find out about those by signing up to our newsletter. So that's all I'm going to cover for now, but I'll look forward to your questions, and definitely please get in touch if I've went through stuff too quickly or you've not caught the details and you're intrigued. Thanks. I think Jim's going to talk to us about KTP now.
Very much for that, Abby. Hello, everyone. My name's Jim Berryman. I'm a presentations here, so apologies for that. But this helps to position where the KTN sits within government circles. So as Abby's mentioned, Knowledge Transfer Network is a networking partner of Innovate UK, so the vast majority of the work that we do is directly for Innovate. But I'm here today to speak specifically about a product that we deliver on their behalf, which is Knowledge Transfer Partnerships. So KTP is funded by Innovate UK mainly, but also supported by other research councils, and we also have other government sponsors that fund KTP, including the Scottish Government through the Scottish Funding Council. So KTPs are an absolutely wonderful beast. It's a programme that's been running for quite some considerable time now and is very well regarded by people that know it, but it's not a particularly well-known product of government, and that's something that we definitely want to try and address. How KTPs work is that we work with partners. So we always build partnerships around a company's ambitions. It's strategically significant development opportunities that it faces, and we always devise a project around about that principal company-driven, strategically significant project. It's a genuine partnership. It works very closely in linking companies with academics. Now, we talk about the knowledge base in KTP. That means both universities and other research type organisations. But it's a three-legged partnership in that, as well as the two corporate partners, we also have very key individuals called KTP Associates. These are individuals who are qualified to honours degree as a minimum, but quite often they have a master's or a PhD level qualifications. And these people deliver the projects on our behalf. The outcomes are that businesses get highly innovative new products, processes embedded within them for them to exploit over the long term. And the capabilities that we deliver allow companies to differentiate themselves within their marketplace. To give you a sense of scale, there's, I think, 109 the current live number of partnerships we have in Scotland, and that's a part of a whole UK activity of more than 800. KTPs have traditionally been technically focused, so we tend to have a lot of our projects around manufacturing and science-based industries, but we also have been delivered additional funding of £25 million recently from our parent sponsor, Bayes, to allow us to deliver management KTPs, which is to try and address the productivity gap between UK PLC and our competitor nations by adopting and exploiting the expertise that resides within our business schools and management schools. We've also recently been provided with an additional £6 million of funding to deliver a KTP in Africa, with a selected number of African companies doing agriculture projects in Africa. So that's a relatively new initiative, and we're just launched that fairly recently. So we quite like these pictograms that kind of explain the three-way nature of KTP, that it's about the company, it's about the university, and it's about the associate. We deliver benefits to all of the partners. We've a history of having delivered this over 40 years. We've got more than 12,000 businesses that have engaged in KTP over the years and decades. And we've got a good reach within academic circles as well. So we are not a sector or technology specific. We're quite agnostic, so we're always open and we're always open. So there's always competitions open for KTP, and we work with businesses across all sectors and with academics from any discipline. The scoring criteria we use to assess whether or not these are good are impact, innovation, challenge, and cohesiveness, and that's the sort of drivers that government wants to see us enacting as we build these partnerships together. Partnerships can be any duration from 12 to 36 months. Default duration is 24. So that's almost becoming the kind of the standard, and any deviation from that is something that we would look for an explanation as to why that would be the case, but we're fairly flexible around about that. And one of the subtleties of KTPs is that we employ the associate within the company, but they're technically an employee of the university, but they're supported by the company and university to jointly supervise them. And we insist that the academic team spend time physically at the company to support the transfer of the knowledge. This pictogram is quite good in explaining that each of the partners we ask for inputs and we deliver outcomes to. And it shows that for at the heart of the strategically significant project that sits at the centre of all of this, we ask for some significant commitment from all of the partners. So businesses need to support the partnership fully. That's financially, with management time, with resource. But in return, we'll deliver significant returns to them. And it's the same for each of the partners. There is a cost of participating in KTP. This is very much an outline, but it would be wrong of me not to highlight the fact that it is a contractual relationship. So each KTP costs typically up to about £100,000 per project year. As I said, projects can vary, but this is a good example of the sorts of costs that are involved. So SMEs should budget for about 35 grand per project year to participate in a KTP. Large companies can also participate. Their grant rates lower, 50% rather than 67%. And Innovate UK, on behalf of government sponsors, including Scottish Government, fund the balance of the costs. But there's a benefit equation as well. So as well as those costs, which are relatively significant, and we appreciate that, we think the value for money equation is outstanding. So typically, your graduate, master's, honours, PhD level student would cost you at least the sort of cost that you would be expected to pay, but that's not all you get as part of KTP. That's a relatively modest proportion of the equation. You get the support of an academic, spending half a day per week at the company, providing you with their key insights, expertise and knowledge. And we do that in a manner that transfers their expertise into the business for long-term competitive advantage, and we embed the capabilities within the company for them to be able to exploit. We also work very closely with academic partners to ensure that businesses are able to exploit any IP that's developed during the process, further strengthening the competitive outcomes for the business partner. That's about all I wanted to say about the product in terms of its principles and its theoretical aspects of what it looks like in general. That can often be quite an ethereal thing. So in order to give it a bit more teeth and reality, I'm delighted to say that Chima is going to be following me with a bit of excellent insights into what one of these things might look like in practice. So I'll now hand you over to Chima. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chima. I work with Johnstons of Elgin. Johnstons of Elgin ran a KTP between 2017 and 2019 in partnership with the University of Strathclyde. And I was the KTP associate on that project. And so I will be giving a very quick overview of what the KTP we did was like, and what the benefits were to our company, and what the whole process looks like. At the moment, I work as a technical director at Johnstons of Elgin. But for those who do not know about Johnstons, Johnstons is a heritage Scottish textile manufacturer that has been operating now in Scotland for over 220 years, with manufacturing sites in Elgin and in Hoyt down in the Scottish borders. We specialize in creating some of the world's most beautifully crafted textile garments and accessories that are made from the highest quality cashmere and fine merino wools. And these products are often made for some of the biggest fashion brands in the world. But we also make some of these products also for ourselves under the Johnstons of Elgin brand label. So I would encourage everyone to visit our website and pick up something really nice for yourself. So on the KTP project we ran itself, the KTP was done in partnership with Strathclyde, as I mentioned. And just to give you a brief background, the products Johnstons make are made from high quality cashmere and merino wools, which are natural fibers and exhibit inherent variability. And these natural fibers are dyed, are spun into yarn, and then are woven and finally crafted and finished into very beautifully delicate, high quality products. But the challenges are that there are challenges with delivering these high quality products consistently due to the variability of the raw fiber and raw material, but also due to the variability of the process itself as a result of the handcrafting and the artisan elements of the production process. Beyond that, there was also ambiguity and some subjectiveness in regards to how the quality of our final products are measured. Often this has been done with touch and feel of experts, so touching and feeling the product to try to decide whether it's got the right quality. But as you can imagine, this is very difficult skill, and it's very difficult to communicate or to teach to others. And it's also not very scientific and also prone to errors, which was resulting in a lot of rework and a lot of reject levels in the business. But there was also an internal cost aspect to all of this, because with the cost of delivering these high quality products increasing due to the amount of internal rework and repairs and amendments that needed to be done to deliver the product at the level that we needed to market it at. And so those were the challenges that kind of drove the need to set up a KTP project. And so this project was put together to help develop systems and processes that would improve the consistency of the process in our products, but would also reduce production waste and introduce some level of scientific rigor into Johnstons' manufacturing operations. So I did mention that Johnstons was in partnership with the University of Strathclyde on this project. But one of the things that the KTP allowed us to do and gave us an opportunity to do was to develop relationships with the knowledge transfer network that Abby just talked about. And so KTN were very key in connecting us to the right organizations and the right funding opportunities that was very critical and helpful in us developing the right solutions to meet some of the challenges that were identified within Johnstons during the KTP project. So, for example, KTN were involved in connecting us with the National Physical Laboratory, that's NPL. I mean, NPL are metrology and measurement scientists and experts. And then through the help of Innovate UK and with Innovate UK funding, we were then able to partner with NPL to develop this novel measurement system for measuring the quality of our cashmere fabrics and their fluffiness and their finish, which was a huge and a significant aspect of the project outcomes. So here I just show a quick a snapshot of some of the testing that was being done on the inline measurement system that was developed with the help of MPL. That this is still in its final stages of development, and that was one of the key achievements of the project, as I mentioned. But beyond that, we're also able to, through the work on the KTP and the help of the university, we're also able to carry out unprecedented quantitative measurements of our cashmere fabrics finish quality. We're able to introduce new sample management systems into the business. We're able to train and educate operators in new ways and transfer new skills to them. We're able to further standardize the manual inspection of the quality of our fabrics and introduce new systems for data capture and data management within Johnstons of Elgin. And in this slide, I just try to capture what's I try to capture succinctly what some of the key impacts, and some of the key benefits of the KTP to Johnstons were. So as you can see there, one of the things we were able to achieve through the work of the KTP and the systems that were put in place was the increase in our consistency in assessing the quality of our products. We were also able to drive down significantly the rework and the reject levels that were due to failures in the finished quality of the products. And as a result, there was also a reduction in the internal cost of quality that relates to the finish and the fluffiness of the products we make, and we recorded savings of over £180,000 at the end of the project. And then we're also able to achieve our highest on-time in full deliveries on record at the end of the project, which ended last year. So those are some of the main impacts that were recorded. But beyond that, if I was just to share some of the other benefits of doing the KTP from Johnston's perspective, it would be that it helped us gain access to new expertise and embed this within the business. It also helped us to get access to funds. So, for example, we were able to secure over £110,000 to develop this measurement system in partnership with the NPL, which has been a key part of the outcomes of the project. It's helped us to apply new technology in different areas of our business to improve our processes. It's helped us and it's given us a very quick and cost-effective access to some of the UK's world-class knowledge base. So these are universities and some research organizations. It's helped us to identify and introduce new technical capabilities into our business that is accelerating innovation. And so now we through the project, we're able to identify new R&D projects that we have initiated, and that kind of takes me to the last point, which is how it has allowed us to explore new ideas and initiate new innovative projects that we otherwise wouldn't have had the know-how or the capabilities or the funds to explore ourselves. So that's a very quick run through of what the KTP was like to us, and those are my contact details there. Please feel free to get in touch with me if you have any more questions. But now I will just be passing us back to David to then handle the Q&A sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tima. I'll just share my content again. We do have a couple of questions, and I suppose one question that was asked is, is there a size limit of the companies that can work with the knowledge transfer network?
Hi, it's Jim here. I'm probably best placed to answer that. The answer is no. We are quite an unusual grant funded mechanism, and our funding goes to the university partner. So there's no direct subsidy to the company applicants here. So what that means is a couple of things. So first of all, there's no state aid implications because the company and the government jointly fund the activities of the university partner and all of this. So we avoid that. It also means that we don't have any state aid restrictions in terms of SME status or whatever. So the majority of our projects are with SMEs. But we quite happily work with large corporates as well. So it's not unusual for Rolls-Royce and Marks and Spencers and GlaxoSmithKline to have projects in collaboration with KTN.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think specifically for KTPs, we'd be looking to work with companies who have demonstrated a secure financial position, whereas KTN in the wider sense would be happy to work with companies that were pre-revenue right up to large established firms. So we work with the full spectrum of companies. I think the one criteria, whether it's KTPs or general KTN activity, is that it's companies that are looking to do something that's innovative rather than sort of business as usual routine activity.
I think on you go.
Sorry, I was going to say, I noticed in the chat as well a couple of questions about IP in terms of KTP. They're good questions because it's always something that's at the heart of any discussions that we have on a KTP project. Generally speaking, any background IP that's already been developed by any of the organisations or individuals involved will stay with them. But foreground IP is generated as part of the project is always negotiated to be at the company's ability to exploit it within their chosen market. Each individual KTP will not be able to commence until such times as there's a formal IP agreement signed between the company and the university that codifies the IP agreement and articulates exactly how that will look for that individual project. That's done in a commercial basis. It's done at an individual contract basis between the individual partners, but most of the university partners tend not to play hardball in all of this. They're more interested in publishing papers and taking back some teaching material into the university. And again, they don't publish or disseminate any information without the prior written approval of the company in order to ensure that we protect IP. So it's a good question. It's something we always focus on, but it tends not to be a stumbling block. I'm happy to go into any more detail if anyone wants to build on that.
Fantastic. I think there was one other question, but I think it may have already been answered through the chat. But someone has asked if we have links to look at more detail around the funding criteria for KTPs. Certainly arrange to get that sent over.
Yeah, so in terms of KTPs, there's a degree of complexity and subtlety to them because it's a marriage between three different partners and there's a lot of discretion in terms of how we build these things. So each one is very bespoke to the individual circumstances of the partners. What that means is that the subtlety and complexity around about KTP exists to facilitate the best possible partnerships. They don't exist to trip people up. It's the reason why I have a job. So it's my role to help navigate your way through the complexities and subtleties. So when it comes to specifics of how things might work in practice, that's a big part of what I do at the early stages of disseminating information and expertise about KTP. As well as that, within the university sector, there's a high degree of expertise in KTP delivery as well. Within Scotland, we do it slightly different from the rest of the UK. We've got 3 collaborative centres that operate on behalf of groups of universities in the north, west and east of the country. The University of Western Scotland has their own centre that sits outside that system. But within those KTP offices and centres within the university system, there are also specialist experts in KTP that work with universities and company partners to talk through the individual elements of how this could work in practice for you as a participant in KTP.
Well, one question I get asked a lot, but it hasn't been asked here by companies. I'm the Knowledge Transfer Partnership Rep for the FRC, as well as the Business Development Lead for the Forging Incremental Technologies team. I mean, I'm dealing with companies. One thing they do ask is, what type of work can I do with a KTP, which is, I find, very fluid, but once they get their head around it, it opens up a whole range of opportunities.
Absolutely is, and it tends to be organic as well. So when a company first comes to us, they may well think, you know what, I'm involved in manufacturing. I know that my digital presence isn't what it should be, so I think I need some Industry 4.0 tech to help me be more efficient. When we then start exploring what a knowledge transfer partnership might look like, and we sit in the room with a company and an academic team from a university like Strathclyde is in Tuma's case, but it could be any university in the UK. And we start exploring what the company's specific requirements are and the expertise that could be applied. What we find is that we come up with something that's maybe a bit different from what the company had thought of in the first place, built on a combination of what expertise the academics have to bring and where the latest research thinking is taking them in that. But also I'll sit at the heart of that conversation, because what I'm interested in is building the most impactful partnerships I possibly can. So I effectively champion the best partnerships that I possibly can. And when I sit in a room with a prospective partners, we always tease out what the potential could be. How far could we push the innovation? How ambitious is the appetite within the partnership to exploit the capabilities that we have at our disposal? So it could sometimes end up being something like, we'll build a digital twin as well as putting in some sensors, and then we'll look at the artificial intelligence and data interpretation capabilities that exist within the university to see how those can be best applied to the unique circumstances of that manufacturer to make sure that they were optimizing the potential of the tech that's available to them. So it's an organic thing, but we genuinely work in collaborative partnerships. It's all about building the best possible partnerships together that we focus on.
Now, if anybody has any other questions to ask, this is your last chance to.
I notice somebody's got a question about the success rates of grant funding. And I think Jim's mentioned that the success rates for KTP are really high, and I think a lot of that is to do with the application process and the help of the universities and the advisors like Jim in that process. Like it doesn't really go ahead unless they're like solid partnerships and good projects. I think for things like smart grants, people are often put off because the success rate is much lower. It's the opposite end of the scale from that. So it would be, say, a 5 to 10% rate, just depending on how much interest there was in that specific round of funding. So that might seem very low, and the effort that goes into a good application is quite high. So it can be interpreted as a bit of a risk, but also taking into consideration that a big chunk of those applications will be low quality. So there'll be questions that aren't answered, for example, or very vague and woolly answers. So although 5 to 10% might seem low, if you've got a good application, then the chances look a bit different. And just to emphasise that we can help with that process, so we can help you see things from an assessor's point of view, and help increase the chances of being funded. So yeah, get in touch if you're thinking about smart grant applications. The other thing to mention is that smart grant applications and KTPs are sort of two ends of the spectrum, one being very sort of low success rate, one high success rate, but the specific funding calls sort of sit somewhere on that spectrum. So some of the other funding calls are really undersubscribed, and your chances of success might be much higher, especially if what you're trying to do fits really well. So if you can fit within a specific funding call, I'd advise going for that. And if not, smart grants are great for innovation that doesn't fit in with those. But get in touch and yeah, read our good application guides and get advice from KTNs. So if it's something the manufacturing team that needs to help with that, that's fine. But we can also work with people from like technology or sector specific teams to make sure your application is as strong as possible before it goes in.
I think, I suppose the great thing about knowledge transfer partnerships, I find, is if a company isn't experienced in doing collaborative research and development, or even bidding for funding calls, it's a nice way to learn the process without it being as complex as maybe some other funding mechanisms that are out there, because of the support they're given all the way through. For my mind, that really helps the SME sector as well as large companies that may not look at collaborative research and development as often as they maybe could.
Absolutely. And we also take the philosophical views that we exist as a grant mechanism to provide support. We don't exist to say no. So that's why we put a huge amount of upfront effort into making sure that we do so productively. So we're really good at handling initial inquiries and very quickly reaching a decision as to whether or not we think that there's time and effort required to pursue an application. We wouldn't waste anyone's time. If you come to us with an idea that's clearly not going to fly, we'll be clear with you as to why that would be the case, but we'd certainly hate to waste anyone's time in these things. That's another reason why we spend so much time, and I spend so much of my time at that early stage is to be very clear with potential partners as what the likelihood of success is going to be.
I would definitely agree with David on that point around KTP being a good stepping stone to open the doors to other types of innovation funding. You can see that's happened with the Johnstons of Elgin KTP that Juma spoke about, how they built relationships with MPL through the A4I programme, and yeah, they've gone on to get other funding from Scottish Enterprise as well, just familiarising themselves with that grant writing process and building partnerships and awareness of the opportunities that can all come through a KTP and the relationship that you would build with somebody like Jim.
Yeah, and it works the other way as well. So we've got a really good relationship with Interface, and they do a fantastic job at brokering engagements between industry and academia. But they've also got innovation vouchers that help seed a lot of activity that can then form the basis of what could become a KTP, for example. So we sit within that pipeline of innovation support, and Abby's right. It's not just, it doesn't just sit in isolation, but it's quite a unique thing but it sits within that broader suite of supports available across the public sector.
Before we bring this webinar to a close, does anybody want to make any more points before we move forward and let everybody get to their lunch? I'll hand you over to my colleague to close the webinar off, but I'd like to thank everybody for their time, the speakers and the people in attendance, and for your questions as well. Very much appreciated, and we hope you found this useful.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody. Denise, I see you've got a question there. Probably best, as you say, to get a personal written response. We'll make sure that we get a response over to you for that. So yes, just want to say thank you everyone for joining us today in the latest of our series. I can see some great feedback so far, so thank you very much. We hope you found the session informative and interesting. We've got a recording of today's session, including the questions, that will be available in the next few days on our NMIS YouTube channel. A direct link to this recording will be announced on our LinkedIn and Twitter channels in due course. There'll also be a survey coming out by email later today, and we'd be really grateful if you could complete that to help us move forward with future NMIS Insights webinars. And of course, if you have any more questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us, nms-inquiries@strath.ac.uk. So once again, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to our speakers today. I'll end the session now. Thank you.